Yeah, man. I'm happy to be on. How you guys doing?
Good, man.
Good.
I'll go around. John Hanson, Ian Harrison, Phil Williams, and Jean Pierre Fuchs.
How you guys doing?
Good.
Hi, Patrick. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Patrick.
Patrick, Jean Pierre Fuchs here. Let me get started. So
Okay.
I seen you, I think, only twice on stage. One time it was absolutely fantastic. It was, I think, the Cal last year.
Uh-huh.
It was totally superior. I mean, it was not even a question from the first minute on. Was that your best shape so far?
I would have to say I feel like that was my best so far because I was actually able to have a certain amount of fullness on stage, and that has been a problem, previously in other shows, even though I've, been to the Olympia a couple of times and even the 2019 California Pro. I have never really hit, I think, the best peak just yet. But to date, I would say that that's probably the best one that we've had so far. And that was a relatively short prep getting ready for that competition last year.
So that was obviously your Olympia qualifier for 2021. Then you went to the Olympia 21, and what happened?
I severely disappointed in my placing. It's just one of those deals where I'm still learning so much about my own body in the sport, and it changes every show. Seems like you gain more muscle, you carry a little bit more degree of leanness throughout the year. So when you're prepping for the show, you kind of have to take a little bit of a different approach, or so it seems for me just starting out. And 2021, we just missed the peak. And I followed the coach I was working with at the time, Chris Aceto, and I followed directions to the letter, and it just didn't pan out. I was flat. I didn't have the same pop that I had back in California. It was just completely off, and I knew it even before going to prejudging on the first night. I remember being back at the condo in Orlando, and I was looking at myself, and I was just like, I'm off. I think I had actually peaked 1 or 2 days prior to the day of the show, unfortunately.
So you were overcarbing, or?
Yeah, no, I think
Undercarb.
I was undercarb for sure, and retaining some water. I think that I'll just go ahead and say it. The use of the diuretics was not a good idea. And it for a body like mine, where I'm leaner year round, I've never competed in off season. I'm relatively 15, 20 pounds outside of contest weight, and that's not by choice. My body just is like that. It doesn't retain a lot of body fat. So I'm just one of those guys that, when I do gain, it's just muscle tissue. I don't really put on a lot of body fat. Even when I've tried dirty bulking, pizza, burgers, my body just burns through everything. And it just, it didn't pan out. So once it got to the week of the show, everything seemed to be in line. And, once those diuretics got in the mix, it just killed me. And I've heard from a lot of the older guys that, that's just not something that you need when you're leaner like that year round. You could, you come in shape. I did the work. I was doing, 45 minutes of cardio fasted twice a day, in the morning and in the evening. So I was in shape for the show and I was ready to go. But once those diuretics got in the mix, it was just too much because they started on a Monday. And that's just, my body can't hold up against that. It's just too much.
Yeah.
So before I give the word to somebody else, so when you went to the Cal, you already worked with Chris, I assume.
So the California Pro in 2019, I worked with Chris. And for 2021, I was just going through that based off knowledge that I've had from previous preps. And I actually had Phil Heath. He came into town and, I got some tips and pointers, and he actually brought me into that show. So he was there, and, of course, he's done multiple peaks, and he was the one, that kind of confirmed for me when he told me, you don't need those diuretics like that. He was like that. You just don't. It's not a good thing for your body. And I learned the hard way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What was your first Olympia, Patrick?
2019.
2019. Yeah, I saw you at that show. I thought you looked really good, but the judges seemed to prefer like the bigger guys, but I thought you had a great look and you even like connected with the audience that year. I remember you got a lot of applause when you came out and did your routine at the pre-judging.
Yes, sir. I was pretty emotional about that one because
Were you?
at that time, that was the hardest I had ever worked for a show. I was training clients 8-9 hours a day. I was prepping my own food. I was doing 2 hours of cardio a day. I was doing my training in the afternoon. I was sleeping maybe 4 or 5 hours
Wow.
for about a 6-week stretch. And but it paid off. When I showed up, I couldn't have been happier. That was my best shape, and condition to date at the time. And I was happy that I was able to hold up, but it was a lot of work that went into that show. And when those people applauded it, I mean, it was I don't think there was a better satisfaction than that, because it was a lot of work. So I was super, super ecstatic about how that one went.
Yeah, I know
you placed there.
they always go for mass monsters, but I was wishing that they would have included you in the first call outs or at least the earlier call outs, because I thought you had a great physique and you just had a better look because you had that hardness.
Yeah, and that's what we were shooting for. We knew that we were because I didn't start it. I had just turned pro in 2017. Started competing a few years before that, so I was very, very new on the scene and going against these guys that had been competing and lifting way, way longer than I did.
Yeah.
I knew I was going to be undersized compared to them, so we just figured, let's count on the shape and condition that we can bring and see if that can move us up. Which fortunately, it did. It moved us in, right into the top 10. And of course, I definitely wanted to be compared with the other guys. But I get it. I worked with Keith Klein when I first started competing, and he always told me it's a muscle game. He said it's muscle. So I was just happy, to be up there with those top guys. I mean, because that was something that I thought about. Would take me much longer to achieve, because when you're first starting, you're like, how do you get to the Olympia? I mean, like, how do you get up there with those guys? And then when you're actually able to do it, it's pretty satisfying.
Yeah.
What's your stage weight, Patrick?
So the last time I competed, I was 241.
Okay.
And I think I would have been a little better at 238 probably. And it's the craziest thing because in 2019, I was 234 at the Olympia. And then in 2021 at the California Pro, I was about 236 maybe, but it was a completely different body. I mean, I was clearly bigger. I guess my body composition had just turned around. And so, and I remember telling Phil, like, man, hey, why am I only a couple of pounds, heavier than I was a couple of years ago? And he said, okay, well, let me put this in perspective for you. When I won Olympia in 2011, I was 232 pounds. And so for me, he said, the weight doesn't always translate to muscle size. So, for me, I was like, okay. And that kind of put to bed the rumor that I had in my own mind, like, okay, I need to be 300 pounds in the off season. Because you can get caught up in that scale weight and think you should be heavier, but that doesn't always translate to the stage. And, a 230 or 240 pound guy that's hard, ripped and shredded is going to pull more attention than a guy that's, maybe 10 pounds bigger and maybe not a good shape and not as good condition. So I try to stay off the scale as much as I can, but I know the last time I competed, it was the upper 230s. Where I landed.
How tall are you, Patrick?
5'10".
Right.
Okay.
So what's your goal now? You've taken this year off competing. Are you just trying to gain size? Are you trying to work on specific body parts?
Yes, sir. So I always, when I look at my physique and where I need to improve at, my first thoughts were my legs and my back, to develop some thickness and density, because I just haven't had the training time that these guys have. Some of these guys I competed with, when they were doing the Olympia, I was in a boxing ring. So I was, I'm like trying to play catch up. And so I am definitely trying to gain size, but the focus is on my legs and back, you know, hamstrings, the entire posterior chain. And the only way I could do that is to take time off, because I haven't taken any time off since I turned pro. I've actively competed in at least 2 shows a year since 2017. And, you know, I just can't grow like that because I'm always in a phase where I'm dieting and doing cardio. So it's just, it definitely was time.
Yeah.
So in 2017, you won the USA. You were already a super heavyweight there. How much did you weigh when you got your pro card?
I barely made the cut. I was 222.
Oh, wow.
I was like,
Yeah.
I was half a pound over into the super heavyweight. So I was the smallest super heavyweight up there. And which was okay for me, because I was a heavyweight the previous year when I did nationals, and that's where I placed 18. So and I was heavyweight at that time. So I was at the back of the pack previously, and so I was super happy to jump from, you know.
So you were never
place.
thinking about it to ask for more time and come back, weigh in a half a pound lighter? You were just totally fine going to the super heavyweight?
Yeah. Because
what a freaking gamble, and it paid out. I can't believe that.
Yeah, it was wild. I mean, because we weren't shooting for super heavy, but that's just as time got close, I wasn't really coming very. I was 228, I believe, about 2 weeks out. And so I think at that time, I think I kind of had a realization like, man, I'm probably going to land in with the big boys this time around. And, you know, I didn't really want to force my body down. And it was a gamble, but yeah, it paid off.
Who won the heavyweight? Who won the heavyweight that year?
I want to say that was Jacob Wilson. It was Jacob Wilson, and he was impressive. He's an older guy, and he was super conditioned, really hard. He had mature muscle. And
who won the overall?
Derek Lunsford. So he was a light heavy.
Yeah, I was sitting there. Yeah, I had my guy Mike Fleeves in the light heavyweight placing thing only third. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that.
What's your age, Patrick?
What's that?
Your age?
38.
Okay.
Yeah. And you know, that's always like one of the biggest questions. People are like, oh, you know, he's this and he's older, he's, you know, all these different things. And I'm like, well, you guys do realize that I'm also just now getting into bodybuilding. So the advantage I do have there is my muscle that I do have now is mature. So as I do grow, I can maintain a level of hardness where some of the younger guys are still maturing and still growing. So, you know, I mean, there's a lot of guys that were ultra competitive and they became that way later in their 30s. So my body is fresh because I haven't been competing that long. So, you know, with all things considered, I still have quite a bit of time because I started later. You know, other guys started in their early 20s, maybe late teens. Yeah. And for me, I was doing another sport. So I started later, but I've been able to make up some good ground. But, you know, I am letting my body grow how it wants to grow. I'm not interested in forcing it in a direction to where it's going to harm my physique, you know, or my health for that matter. You know, so I'm trying to, right now, training is really, really good. My body feels great. I'm recovering from an injury. And I mean, it's just going to take time. That's all it is I need the training time. So that's what I'm using this time off for.
Yeah, I looked. Yeah, go ahead. I looked at your Instagram profile, and I saw that Achilles rupture. So that was this year?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So that's quite an unusual injury for a bodybuilder. What happened?
Yeah, so I was, you know, we always get injured doing something we're not supposed to be doing. It's never in the gym. And I just finished lifting weights, and my buddy, we were going to go and shoot around a little basketball because, you know, we played in college years. And it's so crazy. We didn't even get to play. I got the ball. I literally dribbled 2 times, and I took literally one step, and it snapped.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't, I mean, literally one step. And so once it happened, I looked back and I thought my shoe had come off. And I was like, what just happened? And I looked and I was like, no, because my shoe was tied pretty tight. And my buddy, he said, yeah, man, I think you ruptured your Achilles. And I was like, no. And he said, try to put your foot down and my toes. And I did. And every time I put it down, my heel just there was no shock absorbers. And it was like I was walking on my calf. I mean,
Oh,
it was
man.
the weirdest feeling. And so I had a buddy, his wife's a podiatrist, and it was later at night. So I called him and said, hey, can she take a look and see what's going on? And she confirmed what my buddy said. And that was, at that time, that was pretty tough to hear because I was actually thinking about starting a prep for the Texas Pro that just passed, this year, last weekend. And at that time, all the things I heard about it, that injury and how severe it is. But then there was a bright side to it because once I was able to meet with one of the top surgeons here in Houston, he said, well, man, he said, this is a very common injury for guys that are over 25, over 30, especially if you're athletic, racquetball, basketball, football, anything that requires a lot of torque. And he told me, he said, well, if it went that easy, it was going to go anyway. And he said it was just a matter of time. And luckily you weren't, under some weight or something where it could have snapped. But, I think it was because my calves are a lot stronger than they were when I was playing basketball some years back. And I think that with the additional body weight and that torque that my calf actually created, I think the tendon just couldn't hold up against it, having not being stretched in that fashion for so long. It just snapped.
That require surgery?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So they have where you can recover without surgery, but the problem is it's not going to be necessarily the same when you come back. If you want to return to the level that you were at or even a higher level, then surgery is a no-brainer. So the way that they do it now, it used to be where they would have the tear and they would suture it at the site of the tear. That was causing a lot of issues. So they started having other methods where they use a PARS machine. So basically what they did, you're face down and your heel's hanging off the table. So they have a machine that goes in and it opens it up and it goes in. So it goes above where the tear is. So the tear is kind of in the middle right here, and it sutures it at the top. And then it comes down and it sutures it at the bottom, and then it pulls it together. So that way, now you're getting more, you get, if it's tied at the bottom, it's more secure here and at the top versus if they just sewed it, right here in the middle at the tear. And so I can do all exercises normally. The one thing that we're working on now is calf raises. So I can walk at about 90% without any discomfort. I can do all training, leg extension, leg curls. So my lower body training is back to where it was prior. It's just kind of being careful with certain movements, being mindful of that actual injury.
Get us through the timeline when something like that happens. So you have surgery on a certain day, then you go back to the gym, do upper body like a week or two later, or you wait a month, or when you start to do the first leg exercises and what kind of exercises? How does that look like after a surgery like that?
Yeah, I had the injury was on April 28th, and May the 10th I had surgery. So once surgery is complete, you go in. It was about an hour and a half, and you're in a soft cast. So you wear the soft cast, until you go in and you can have that removed, and it puts your foot in a pointed position. So basically, instead of being at 90 like this, straight up, it has it like this where it's pointed. So that way it can bring the tendon together and it gives it time to scar tissue and heal in the middle. So once I had that, I was like, okay, I can't sit around anymore because, mentally, your first thing is, what am I going to do now? Like, this has been my life for the past, 6, 7, 8 years. All my focus has gone to training and getting my body, in shape for these competitions. And now I can't train my lower body. So you can basically do anything that's lying or seated. Obviously, you can't stand. And you're in that soft cast, and then they take the soft cast out at about 2 weeks, and then you go into a boot. And so then you're in the walking boot, and the walking boot has 4 heels in it. So every week, past a certain point, one heel gets removed until you're able to be flat.
Mm-hmm.
And, so it's about a 6-week process until you're able to come out of the boot, and then you can start, rehab and start doing certain exercises, trying to get, mobility back. And it's just that the first few weeks, everything has to be seated. And so once I was cleared out of the boot, then you can load as much as your body is comfortable with. So at that point, you really have to be kind of careful with what you choose to do, because, as an athlete, we all think, or we all feel like, hey, I can push through this, that, you push through the pain. But with an injury like this, you kind of have to listen to your body, and anything that feels weird, you kind of have to back off of it. So once I was able to, do leg press, then I could start to slowly increase the load. And then it was just, being responsible with my training, because that early stages is when the re-rupture can happen.
Right.
Wow. Interesting.
So other than calves, you're fully back on when it comes to leg workouts?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's squatting, leg press, everything is heavy load. So I have a collagen regimen, so when I'm doing my pre-workouts and my, things the drinks that I have before I get ready, you have to take the vitamin C with the collagen, and that pretty much goes to, assist in healing the injury. And that's about 30 minutes before training. And it's just, you go in and you're just responsible with everything that you're doing. You just have to make sure that if you feel anything weird, any tightness, then, to back off of it and not kind of just push through,
Yeah, there's a picture of it there. There's...
Yeah, so that little dark spot right there, that's that's where the tear is. And so they sutured it up top and then just below that.
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting. It's a nice little scar is what it is now.
Well, you see your leg work out here, it doesn't look like you're having in pain at all. It's pretty smooth.
No. Yeah, and that's the good thing about being I've gotten really, really good at mind muscle connection. So I can tell pretty early on in the first rep or two if a workout is going to bother me, if I can, do it in a fashion to where I'm not going to risk a re-injury.
Was it painful surgery, Patrick? Like afterwards, was it painful after they stitched you up?
So I had, they give you the pain meds, and I took the pain meds for a day and a half, and I was done with them. Because I didn't want to rely, I didn't want to rely on them. But there was a month's supply, and I called the doc and I said, hey, I'm feeling okay. And what I did was, it was every 4 hours. And so I pretty much just kind of let it lapse, to 4.5 to 5 hours. And once I realized I wasn't having any pain, I said, okay, I'm going to try today with no pain meds. And I didn't have any pain. I think when it first happened, I had some pain. And that just was kind of getting in and out of the tub, little movements that the blood would start to flow. And then your body kind of registers like, hey, something's weird's going on down here. And then that's when it, sends those signals to your brain like, hey, you have a significant injury. But after the surgery, no, there was no pain. And I was highly surprised because I thought that there would be. But then when I did a little research, they said it's just kind of case by case basis. Some people are in a lot of pain and some don't really experience any pain.
Yeah. I tore my pec a couple of years ago, and I was on pain pills about 2 days. I didn't like the way they made me feel. I couldn't handle it. Yeah. So I switched to ibuprofen, I think, if I felt anything.
Yeah, because I was sleepy all the time. Like the first 48 hours, I was like, and I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to move. I didn't want to do anything, because I had the, so I had the pain pills and I had the codeine and the what was it, gabapentin. So the same stuff that they give you for nerve pain, like shingles,
Yeah.
And so when I put those two together, I was just like, gosh, I am so tired. And and I was having crazy dreams. Yeah, so after 2 days of that, I was like, okay, I'm done with this. I can't, I was sleeping on the couch because I didn't want to get up and go to my bed. It was a lot. And I was rolling around on a little scooter that I have. It's now that I look back at it, I laugh because it's funny, but man, it was at the time it was super emotional. Because it makes you feel like Superman when you can do anything that you want with your body. You go to the gym and you can lift, and you're physically, you look impressive, you feel great. And when that's taken away, it's just like wow. All the doubts, any insecurities that you may have, those will set in, because you'll start to wonder, like, wow, I didn't even reach my peak yet. And was I ever good enough? Am I ever going to be able to be, what I was again? You have all those questions. And for me, I had to sit down and process that first. And then it became like, okay, well, do you want to be, great? Before this injury, you wanted to be great, and you were willing to do what you needed to do to get to that point. So where can you start? And then that's when I said, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to go do 3 upper body exercises just to mentally, because it had been 3 weeks before I had done anything. And so once I got back in the gym, I said, okay, I can do this. This happens. It's unfortunate, but I can still work out. I can still train, and this injury, it's going to heal. And when it heals, you need to be ready to, mentally get back on track. And that's what it was. About 10 weeks post-op, I was like, okay, I'm going to really start to push this a little bit. I feel comfortable. I can walk. I'm not having any pain. I don't need the scooter or anything. I'm walking around. So let's go. And now I'm back at it, and it feels really good.
I think sometimes having an injury like that actually makes you a better athlete. I had major knee surgery on both my knees when I was 17, and I got told by the surgeon that I could never train again. And that was just like waving a red flag in front of a bull. I was determined then to prove him wrong. So I think when you get a setback like you just had, it kind of makes you mentally stronger to go for it even more.
Yeah, it does. And what's funny, there was actually a guy that runs a podcast, and he's a TMZ of bodybuilding podcast. It's the Nick Trigili guy, Trigley. Hopefully I pronounce his name, right. But he got wind of it, and of course he was super late. But he was really he was rooting for me to fail. It was the weirdest thing when he talked about it.
That sounds like Nick.
Yeah, and it was wild, man. He said he was like, well, enjoy your time in the spotlight because it won't be long. And I'm like, wow, man. I was like, where'd that come from? And then I had to realize, like, okay, well, this guy hasn't, he's never won a pro show. He's never been to the Olympia. Does he even know what it's like to come back from something like that and be successful and work? And people won't have the same mentality. So I could see why he might say those things. And like he said, that just makes you more hungry. It's like, then it's like, okay, I'm going to prove anybody wrong that feels like, okay, well, this can't be done. And it's mentally, you settle with it first yourself, and you realize, yeah, I can do this. Like, this is not a problem. This is, you just do the rehab, get back to training, and then you go from there. So it does give you a different type of motivation. You want to get back to the stage and stuff like that, but then you just have to do the rehab time and be patient.
Yeah.
What are your plans from here?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Yeah.
So right now my plan is to do I want to shoot for the New York Pro this upcoming in 2023. Because that was the first show I did as a pro. When I turned pro in 2017, I did the New York Pro in 2018, and I placed 13th at that show. And I always told myself, I would go back and get that first place. And you know, I just never allowed myself to have that time off. And it's a bit of a struggle to have this time off, even because, you know, given where I'm at now, you know, my weight's around 260. I could potentially, you know, cut down and do a show later in the year if I wanted to push it that far. But you know, I just have to allow myself some time to grow, you know. So I feel like if I can commit to the New York Pro next year, you know, next May, that gives me some time to train and mentally get back into it. Because after the Olympia in last year, I remember being so distraught at that placing that I had actually, it's the weirdest thing, I actually lost the passion for what I'm doing. And it was because I had not taken time off. You know, when you first start training and you get into lifting, you do it because you want to look good. And that's what it was for me. I never had any thoughts about bodybuilding because I didn't know anything about it. I just knew I was a teenager and girls like guys that were in good shape. So I wanted to work out. And, you know, so for years, about 13, 14 years before I ever stepped on a stage, I just went to the gym because I loved it. I love to lift. I love to work out. And, you know, once I started competing, it changes the dynamic of lifting because now it's become, you know, it's a job. And with all jobs, you know, if you work, you expect a certain result. And to a certain point, I think I had been going so hard for so long that when I wasn't getting the result that I felt I deserved, I kind of lost the passion for the work that I was doing because I lost track with the fact that, hey, you just love working out, you know. So mentally get back to that place, you know, take some time off away from the stage and put it in a different category instead of, you know, hey, I have to lift because, you know, I'm a bodybuilder, I'm a pro bodybuilder, this is what I do. Get back to the stage where you just love working out. And, you know, it's been great, you know, since I adopted that mindset. And I had really taken a couple of months of consistent working out of, you know, from the gym because I was burnt out. And I now I see why the older guys would tell me you need to take time off. And, you know, they tell you, well, mentally you have to do it because you can go into overdrive, which it's easy to do because it becomes who you are. And so, you know, now just like I said, having that time off, I think when I come back, it'll be a much different body because I'll be fresh and I'll have a much different mentality towards my training when it's time to go and prep again.
Now, who will be coaching you, or will you have one?
Yeah, I have not decided on that just yet.
Yeah, okay.
You know, because the craziest thing, man, is I went to school for, you know, nutrition and training and all this different stuff. So it was weird. You get to that point and then you're kind of working with a coach from a second eye point of view because, you know, everything, it's kind of a general, you know, formula that you follow. You know, you're eating higher carbohydrates and higher protein, obviously, in the off season because you want to gain. Right. And then, of course, when it's time to come down, you know, you start to slowly, you know, shave the food off and you bring the carbohydrates down. You implement the cardio and stuff like that. So a lot of the stuff I know. So it's just kind of, you know, getting with a coach who is going to realize my body is a little bit different than a lot of guys. You know, it is. You can't throw a bunch of food at it and say, hey, go and grow. Because I've tried it, you know, like I said, I've tried super high calorie diets and my body just doesn't want to do it. And I'm just leaner year round. And that's just how it is. You know, I have to work with someone who is familiar with that, you know, so I'll have to do a little research and see.
I'm wondering what John is going to say to what I'm going to tell you now. So I'm looking around all the coaches we have, you know, I follow pretty much everybody. I look at their athletes. And since I never had a coach myself, I was thinking, if I would be a young man again, coming into the game now, who would I hire? You know? Yeah. So I think there's two names which really stand out to me when I look at their passion, how their athletes look. And I don't say about, you know, just having a few good athletes and then a hit and miss kind of thing. But there's two names who really stand out to me. And that's George Farah. Yeah, and Matt Jansen.
I was going to say Matt.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's
I
the
mean,
thing is,
Patrick Tour is great too, but I don't think he's going to the shows. And I would have to I need a coach who's coming to my show and is there with me in the room every 3 or 4 hours, you know, at least the first couple of shows. I don't want anybody coaching me from home, you know. It's just, so I think those two names is something you could probably consider. John, what do you think? Who would you hire if you're a young, not natural, but a young pro?
It's a good question. I don't know. No, I'm not up on the coaches as much as you are, JP.
it's such a tough call to make, because you know that's like that's what you always look at is the athletes they're working with and their passion for what they're doing. And you know, you mentioned Patrick Tour. I really like how, you know, he is with his athletes. And because I actually spoke with him when I was with Yamamoto Nutrition. And you know, I think he would have been a really good fit. But he doesn't, I don't know that he goes to all the shows, but I do know, you know, he does do really well with his coaches. And Matt Jansen, yeah, he's really, really good. And of course, George Farah. So I want to get with someone who is passionate about what they're doing, because it's, you know, it's my body. And you know, I'm putting a lot of work and a lot of time into this. And you know, you want to get the best results you can. So I would definitely want to get with someone that I can communicate often with, as far as what I know about my own body, and then, you know, pair that with the knowledge that they have, and then see if we could come up with a good formula. Because, you know, it's obviously if I'm never 10 or 15 pounds outside of stage weight, there may have to be a different approach, you know, when even in my off season, you know, and what we're doing, because my body just, it's not responding to conventional stuff. I'm growing. I mean, when my first show, I was 194 pounds. I was 194. And, you know, when I boxed, I was 200, I was in 205 class. So I'm growing. It's just, you know, it's only lean tissue that I'm putting on. So I would have to get with someone who, you know, might know a little bit about that.
Yeah, it sounds like you need somebody that understands your body, because it sounds like your metabolism is really fast. Because like you said, you didn't need all those diuretics that one show, you know, for the whole week, because that just totally flattened you out. And even maybe someone who could cut back on the cardio too, because it sounds like you get lean so quickly. And the key, I think, is just keeping that muscle and coming in bigger. That's what the judges want from you, right? Is that what they said after the Olympia?
Yes, sir. Yeah. When I notice when I'm full, I look a lot bigger than, you know, when I'm flat. And that's what has happened. When I turned pro, I was doing Keith Klein only had me doing 45 minutes of cardio a week. And I was in really good shape. I was super striated everywhere, my hamstrings, and it was minimal cardio, and the carbs weren't even super low. So, you know, that's different than what I hear a lot of guys do when they do super, super low carbs and a lot of cardio. That harms me. My body, it harms me if it's done for too long. And that prep that I did in 2021, that was a 42-day prep. So I had no intentions of competing whatsoever. I was not on any supplement cycles, anything. I went to visit Flex Lewis's gym, and I saw Jay Cutler there, and he said, "Hey, they're doing the California Pro," and I hadn't heard anything about it. And I said, "Seriously?" Because you know it was a weird year, so I didn't know if they were having the show. And Jay, he said, "I mean, based on how you look now, I would do the show." He said, "I would just go home and get ready." And yeah, it was a 42-day prep. Wow. And you know, we went in and won that show because I was already in shape. And so it was pretty, that was an eye opener for me. You know, I was like, wow, I can do this in 40 days. You know, so maybe something that I've been doing isn't the best. And I think that was the low carbs, the lot of cardio with the diuretics. My body, it just doesn't, it can't hold up against that.
Sometimes less is more, right?
Yes, less is more. That's what it is for sure with this one.
Patrick, when you were boxing, how different was your diet? Were you eating a lot of calories? Like when you get ready for a match?
Yeah, I would actually have McDonald's ice cream cones.
Really?
Because the amount of muscle that I was carrying, if you don't have those higher calories like that, if you're someone with a fast metabolism, you can get gas pretty quickly, you know.
Really?
So those foods, I never had to really alter my diet because I would just burn everything. It you know, I didn't have a problem making weight. As soon as it was, you know, here in Texas, you know, once it gets around May or June, it's hot. You drop weight really, really quick. And we didn't have AC in the gym. I mean, it was a small gym. There was no AC in there. And I mean, it was a tin roof. So it was
old school.
Yeah.
old school.
Yeah.
And it was incredibly well insulated with heat in the summertime. So it was not a lot of fun, but you know, you got in shape pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So as a fan, when it comes to this year's Olympia, how you see it this year, or you even care, or you know, do you have any idea in your head how the places could look like?
That's you know, it's so crazy. I used to make some predictions, and I would think like, okay, this will be this way, this will be that way. I think this guy will land here, this guy will land there. But with the way some of the shows have been going, it's tough to, you know, put a finger on it. Because even, you know, last year when I did the Olympia post show, I did the Legion Sports Fest, and you know, the judges awarded Sean Clarita first place for that show. And you know, here it is. I'm like, wow, this guy weighs like 178, or you know, he's not a huge guy. I can't remember his weight, but he wasn't an open guy. And so I'm like, well, really, what are they looking for? So it's tough to call it, because now you have some different bodies going into, you know, obviously you would assume that the top guys are going to be the top guys again. So, you know, you'll have Rami, obviously, Brandon Curry, Hadi, Hunter, Nick. You know, you can assume what the top guys will be, but then, you know, there are some different newer physiques going into the show, and that list, I think right now, is pretty long. I mean, I think there's a good 20 at least athletes right now. So it could be. I'm definitely a fan. I'm definitely going to go on to 10. I'm excited to see all the guys, but it's going to be interesting, man, because there's way more new guys than there are, you know, the older guys. Yeah, so I think it'll be interesting. I can't really call it. I mean, I definitely think the top 5 guys will still be the top 5 guys. Unless, like I said, you know, the guy Andrew Jack that just won the Texas Pro, he jumped into that show last minute. I think if he's in top condition, because I don't think he was in his top condition at that show, but he looked great because he was originally getting ready for the Arnold UK. So he looked amazing at Texas Pro, and I think he deserved that win. And I think he can be better and will be better than what he was at that show, because they weren't planning on doing it, you know. So given the right amount of time, I think he's going to be effective. I mean, it's. I would have to look at the list, man, but I think it's going to be pretty crazy.
Do you think Rami's going to keep his title?
I think it's a very high possibility. You know, all I can do is go off the photos that you see now. And I think he posted an update not long ago, and he looked great. And I'm like, wow, he looks really good for this amount of time out. And so, you know, I always have a method of, when you're prepping for a show, kind of land the plane, you know, and not just nosedive. Yeah. So if they're just going to coast in, I mean, he's got a really good chance of keeping that title, because he has all the muscle, all the size. So if he's conditioned, I mean, he hits all the points, you know.
How hard is it going to be for you to watch the Olympia without competing in it?
Really hard.
Yeah.
Because you know, it's like when you've been there, you're like, dang, I could be up there. I want to be up there with these guys. And you know, so you just it's just something I'll have to, you know, prepare mentally for, and just enjoy it, because I was a fan in 2018. And that was the first time I ever went to the Olympia, the actual show. I had been to the Expo before, and it was fun being a fan in 2018. So I'm just gonna, you know, and go out there and eat what I want, and just relax and chill, and just watch these guys do their thing.
You know what, though? It might be the fuel you need.
Yeah.
Yeah. because that's what it's done before. Whenever you see other guys, you know, and you have that time away from the stage, it makes you hungry. You know, it's such a. I try to tell people, you know, being away from the stage is really hard for me right now, because and like I said, at any time I could say, oh, hey, I want to go do a show, and I'm not far out of shape. But it is giving me a different feeling. Every show that passes and I see the guys that win, I'm just like, man, I can't wait to get back, you know? And so then I go to the gym and I train, and there's a different level of intensity because I'm, you know, my mind is different. It's hard to explain, but you know what I mean? When you see them and they're up there and you see the guys at the best show in the world, the best of the best on that day, it does make you hungry. Like, okay, I'm gonna have my ass up there next year, like for sure.
What about AJ Sims as a coach? Have you ever considered him?
Yeah, you know what? I actually haven't even seen a lot. I don't see him come across my feed on my social media as much as I used to. But he's a really good coach. Also, Justin Miller, I believe. He worked with George Peterson before he passed, and he does some really good stuff too. He's out of New York, I believe.
Yeah.
Who is coaching Andrea Shaw? I heard it's a very small team, and I mean, when it comes to superiority, I mean, that woman
somebody
is just,
up there in Detroit, isn't it?
Yeah, that woman is
powerhouse.
just like so superior to her competition. It's like Lee Haney stuff what she brings on stage, and I heard he doesn't take a lot of people.
John Simmons, I think, is their trainer. John Simmons, who used to be you remember him, right, Phil?
Yeah, John Simmons, yeah.
Bodybuilder in the 80s, 90s. Yeah.
He's out of Detroit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's up there at Powerhouse up there with Ron Love and all them.
That's right.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of good choices.
Yeah, it's the thing too, is, you know, here in Houston, you kind of have to separate yourself from the pack, because, you know, the fitness industry, I feel like, is not very big or strong here. I think the industry is, but as far as training environments, there's not one single place where you can say, hey, this is where all the guys go, you know, like a Gold's Gym Venice, or, you know, Bev's Francis Powerhouse, you know, in Syosset. There's not a gym here that's like that. And sometimes that can be tough because Houston is so spread out. So to go to a gym that has everything, it's like an hour drive. It's not close. And so it really puts a hinder, you know, on your training, because you're trying to decide, well, where do I want to train? Oh, well, geez, I'm gonna have to really drive, you know, if I want to train. And so it turns a 1.5 hour training session into like 4 hours, because you have an hour there and an hour back.
Yeah.
So it makes it tough, you know, and there's not a ton of I don't think there's many well-known coaches that have been around for years that are, you know, in this area.
Wow. Yeah.
Where is Branch Warren? Where does he live?
He's in Dallas.
Yeah, he's in Dallas.
Yeah. So he's about 4 hours north of where I am.
You know, the driving never really bothered me. It was kind of part of my preparation for a workout. And I used to go to a lot of different gyms, depending on how I felt. It's not everybody's thing, you know, to go from gym to gym, depending on the machine I wanted to use.
Yeah.
I didn't mind. I mean, I remember for a little while, I thought I need to find something close. You know, it's a disadvantage, just driving around and thing, although I liked it. Till I talked to Flex, and Flex was driving like an hour and a half from Orange County up to Venice Gold's gym, sometimes twice a day. So I realized, well, I'm not the only one who likes to drive around. Not a big deal. I keep doing that. I always like that approach.
It's good. The thing is, so I have two vehicles. One is a truck, and it's decent on gas mileage. Of course, gas prices are crazy right now. And my other vehicle is a ZL1 Camaro, and they are not gas friendly. But I like to drive, you know, because what I'll do is if I know I'm going to a gym that's further away, I'll actually drink my pre-workout or you know, whatever supplements I'm having on the way to the gym. And you know, you can kind of get in a mood. If you're listening to certain music and stuff like that, you can zone in. So I do like to drive. It's just the times where you want to go and, get it done and you don't want to deal with the traffic. It's like, oh, but then on the other side of the coin, it's like, well, if this is my job, this is my profession, most people drive 45 minutes or so to work to their jobs for 8 or 9 hours a day. So I have to look at it in that aspect as well. Like, okay, you want to train back and this gym over here is 50 minutes away and has the best back stuff, then you need to go over there. And you have legs and it's at this gym over here, it's an hour away, then you need to go over there, because I have like 5 gym memberships. So like John said, I drive around and whatever gym has what I need, that's where I go for that day. I just wish they were closer.
Yeah.
You have to pay for gym memberships?
Only the LA Fitness membership that I have. And so,
They don't know bodybuilders.
they you go in there and you try to get a free, they're like, no, who are you again?
That's like going into Planet Fitness or something.
Right.
So
I
never paid for a gym membership in my life till I moved to Palm Springs. And the first day in Palm Springs, I showed up with my Pro card 25 years ago. I'm like, what the fuck is that? So I'm a bodybuilding pro. I said, yeah, everybody's world champion here in something, and if you don't give a shit. So I found out that the guy owned 5 gyms, and Jay Cutler even paid,
Oh, wow, yeah.
The goals, yeah. So, other than that, I really never paid. But yeah, I know what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
It's different now. A lot of the gyms, there's one gym that's here, and it's a really good gym, and it's like $80 a month. And I'm like, I'm not going to pay you $80 a month to go to your gym. I mean, it's great. Don't get me wrong, but man, I'm just using one thing. I'm not using all the other extras, so it makes it tough because, it's sad. The fitness, I almost feel like sometimes some of these gyms, they just don't respect what us pro guys do. It's a lot of work that goes into it, and anyone that's in the fitness. So I think if you're able to, aside from the corporate gyms, I get why they do it, because they don't care. They're going to get members whether, it's whatever. But the private gyms, I'm like, hey, if we're going to push content out of the gym for you, and there's even a slight chance you land, 3 or 4 members, well, I think that's worth, comping my membership, because you just, landed 3 or 4 other, memberships based on me coming here. And so some gyms respect that here, and then some of them, they just don't.
Yeah.
What do you guys say the day rate is for Venice now?
$40.
Yeah, $40.
$40.
$40.
40.
That's crazy.
Are they not a little low on equipment right now? I heard they ordered new machines and they didn't show up yet.
They got some new equipment. I saw it. I want to say it might be Gym 80 equipment, some of it. Since I moved up here from there, they have
Gym 80 is really big in Switzerland, Germany. It's probably one of the biggest ones. Yeah, they've good equipment. But I will not pay $40 for a workout. It's just no.
No, absolutely not. Me and my wife paid $110 a month between the two of us when I trained at Goes in Venice. At the time I moved here.
Yeah,
I think
and that was a discount.
Wow.
I think MI40 is 25, isn't it, John? MI40? I think it's like 25.
I thought it was more than that.
Is it?
I know when I went over there when I did the Tampa, and or no, that was the New York Pro in Tampa, and they I don't think I paid a membership. I think they let me come in there and train. And so that was really cool on their part, to let obviously there were other guys there that were getting ready for the show. But they didn't charge a day pass that time. I thought that was really cool, and that gym is pretty dope. It's a really nice gym. Yeah.
So since Vegas is now probably pretty much, at least on the West Coast, the Mecca, did you ever consider moving, or you just love it in Houston?
No, I'm on a time clock here, actually. I was going to relocate to Florida within, actually with this month was the original plan. And so then the injury happened, and I had some different changes and stuff go on. So I'm just pushing it off, for now temporarily, but I'm definitely going to be relocating for sure. I've grown up here in Houston, so I've been here my whole life. And, I don't want to stay here. I want to go and, live somewhere else, and you can always come back home. If you move somewhere and you don't like, where, you can always come back. But I feel like I've hit the ceiling here. I can't really do anything more than I've done with my career from this particular place. So once I started feeling like that, I'm like, okay, it's time to go. I have to go somewhere where I can, meet people in a similar field, and just get involved in some other things, because it's so separated here in Houston. It's just, you can't grow. I mean, once you hit a certain ceiling, that's it. The training business isn't huge here, because most people would rather go and eat and drink than to, go and train.
Yeah.
So it's quite different if you're heavily into fitness, if you're from Houston.
Yeah.
Probably the biggest mistake I made in my career to not getting out of my comfort zone. I remember I used to talk to Nasser on the phone, and he's like, I cannot understand you up there in the mountains, and you probably even like it, So, yeah, I just, other than a few weeks before the Olympia, I had no interest moving, and it was a big mistake. It's just, I wish I would have moved and go to a place where there's more like me,
Yeah, and that's because you have a different appreciation for where you're at, your environment, and it's not just the gym environment, but the environment as a whole. And if you live somewhere and you love it, it's definitely give you a different feeling for life. And when you have that and things are positive outside of the gym, it makes it really easy to go and perform, in the gym.
Well, if you come to Tampa, Patrick, I'll set you up at Powerhouse Gym.
Yeah, that is the original plan. And
Tampa?
I think
Okay.
yes, sir. Yeah, because I looked in West Palm Beach. I looked because I didn't want to go as South Florida, Fort Lauderdale. It's just too busy.
It's too expensive.
So Tampa, yeah, and Tampa, once I looked, I was like, okay, so it's right across the bridge. If I ever wanted to go to South Florida, I just cross the bridge and travel down there. But Tampa is where the original place I looked at. I think it was called the Asher, and it was a downtown apartment building.
Okay.
And it was super nice, but they didn't have many availability at the time. So that's definitely the top choice right now.
Okay. All right. Let me know. Set you up at Powerhouse Athletic Club.
So Patrick,
Yes,
you live off personal training, or you have enough sponsors to live off bodybuilding?
So I have the sponsorships, and I'm just fine with that, but I do still like to work. So I did still do some personal training, and then I do the online coaching for some of the athletes that are coming into, starting bodybuilding, and they're fresh. And I try to give them coaching from an experience standpoint, what I would look for in a coach. And it's really easy with these younger guys, because a lot of them, they come in and they just want to work. They just want to train, and they stick to the diet. And it's really good to see for someone like me, because the biggest thing that I get from newer guys are, what can I take? I just want to get huge. I just want to, they don't really have a passion for lifting. And so it's really been cool to see like these younger guys that are coming up now, and they're like, well, I just want to compete. I want to see how my body, I've been lifting for 3-4 years. I really love it. I want to go to the next level. So I've been working with, some guys, that are newer coming in. So that's been a little bit more of the focus now outside of the personal training.
Cool. Man, we hope you come here, man. It's not hot here at all. Don't worry. It's nice and cool.
Yeah.
You'll run your heater most of the time. You'll be fine.
No, it's about the same, right? Houston and Florida.
Yeah, Houston's pretty humid.
I think Houston's more of a dry heat, is it? More of a dry heat?
Very dry heat.
Yeah,
and it's
humid.
Yeah, it's humid
tough.
here.
Yeah, it's super tough. This heat here, it's you go outside and it's like a sauna. And it's crazy because it has never been this hot like this before. So this summer has been easily the hottest on record. We had multiple 100 plus days. The temperature being, and it's been tough. So it's I will definitely prefer the hot humidity, the humid heat over the dry heat.
Yeah.
But I just see you guys have rain, huh?
Yeah, we do today. But we were in a heavy drought. We even if it rained, I think for 6 days straight, here, if we had rain every day, we'd still be in some level of a drought. That's just how dry it's been. It's really been crazy.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's like that everywhere.
If you do make it to Tampa, Patrick, I'd love to come and meet you, man. I'm not far away. I'm about an hour south of Tampa myself.
I think I'm going to make a trip out there here within the next month. And come out there so I can actually physically look at some places, because that's the hardest thing, relocating. Everything online looks a certain way. So I think it'll be best if I come out for about a week, and then I'm able to look at some different places, and then I can train. And so that'll be very, very soon.
So once I moved to the United States, I was looking into Florida, and I think the problem was the day I went to Miami, I was about 325 pounds. I just couldn't breathe in the humidity. So it's just not possible.
No.
So I had to go somewhere that's a little more dry. But other than that, it's pretty cool down there. I mean, beside the hurricane, sinkholes, and alligators, and
Oh yeah,
We don't get earthquakes though.
Yeah, earthquake. The alligators, they don't bother you. You just don't bother them, they don't bother you.
Well, as long as they stay away from my cats. I tried to fall in love with Florida. I know every time I come down there, I rent a car, I drive around. I just have absolutely no love for freaking Florida. I just don't get it. The taxes. Yeah, I like the taxes. That part is nice.
You just haven't went to the right areas, JP. You got to listen in when you come into town.
It's more than possible, you know. I remember I was at Dave's house, and he had this little river, you know, at the right of his house. And I say to him, he says, "Look, have any like alligators over there?" And it's just a small river, you can walk through it. And he's like, "There's nothing to worry. They sunbank on the other side of the river." Okay. not good enough for me, but yeah, you know.
Yeah, when it's when we get dry spells, they'll end up in people's garages, under their cars, all kinds of stuff.
Oh wow!
Great.
Right.
So yeah, Vegas would be my choice if I would, you know, compete now. But you know,
yeah. Well, cool. Well, listen, you guys got anything else for Patrick?
That was great.
No,
was
man.
nice.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming on and telling your story to us, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I enjoyed talking with you guys for sure.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Got a great physique, Patrick. I wish you the best of luck.
Yeah, best of luck for the New York
Yeah,
Pro
you got an
next
awesome
year.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we're gonna keep following you, man. And hopefully, when we get closer, have you on again. That'd be great.
Absolutely, and the physique that'll be on stage next will be quite different. So still really, really good, but it'll be quite different.
Yeah,
Gives you plenty of time to make those changes. That's good.
Yes, sir. Indeed. Yes, sir.
Right. Well, you got a lot of good guys here. You can pick their brains now.
I sure will. Hey, I guarantee you, I sure will.
Patrick, you follow 50,000 people, but I'm not one of them. Just can you?
I'm gonna go on the story that I was mentioning. I'm gonna go down and follow all you guys because
thank you.
Yeah, because I don't see enough. All the pages I follow, I think they're spam because I don't see 2,300 people across. I don't even know when I ever followed so many people. So I just as of late, I've been really paying attention and able to follow, you know, people that I actually want to see what they have going on. So I'm going to go on there and make sure I follow you guys for sure.
Great.
Awesome.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Pleasure,
all right, guys.
I look forward to meeting you in person soon.
Yeah,
absolutely. I look forward to meeting you guys.
All right, gentlemen.
All the best.
All righty.
All the best.
All right. Everybody have a good evening.
Bye, guys.
All righty.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.